Okay, so it's been over a year now since I uploaded the first part of this series. It wasn't really doing all that well, and it took a really long time to make, and I didn't really like the video, so I kind of just put it on an indefinite hiatus. Us Hunter x Hunter fans are very used to that. And then suddenly, the video just blew up. Like, I have no idea why it decided to just do this, but it did, so I decided to make part 2. I already had all of part 2 scripted out, so all I need to do is just do the voiceover and edit it, right? Well, it turns out that sometime in that year, I decided to just clean out my folders and I deleted that document that had all the notes for this video. So I had to think of all the points again from scratch. Oops. I spent about a month thinking about this on and off, so hopefully I didn't forget anything. But before we get into that, I want to address some stuff that I forgot to talk about or that I didn't really explain clear enough in the previous video. A lot of these points are also just straight up taken from the comment section of the previous video, so thanks for leaving those comments. Now, I kind of touched on this in my previous video, but I want to go more in depth here. The reason Togashi is copying himself, or rather taking influence from his own previous work, is most likely because he wanted his former series, Yu Yu Hakusho, to go a different direction than Shonen Jump did. Togashi wanted more time to evolve and expand his characters and their world, but with Shonen Jump putting pressure on Togashi to meet deadlines, he had to compensate by cutting the series short and not fully exploring the themes and directions he could take the characters. After ending the series prematurely, he made a new one in Hunter x Hunter, where he is now able to write on his own terms. So Hunter x Hunter can kind of be seen like the Yu Yu Hakusho that Togashi actually wanted to make. Now let's get into the series aspects that I didn't cover all that thoroughly in part 1. It's recommended you watch part 1 before watching part 2, just a suggestion. There are quite a bit of similarities between Hiei and Killua that I didn't talk about. They both grew up in an environment where killing was the norm and excelled at it. Both grew weary of a life of pointless killing. Seeing it as a life without purpose drove them to pursue a life with meaning. Both of their siblings have a special power that placed them in captivity, that being Yukina's tears and Something's wish granting. Both primarily use speed and precision to win battles quickly and decisively. Both had messed up childhoods growing up without friends that ultimately led them to wandering around until they eventually came into conflict with the main character. I tried comparing Killua to Hiei a lot, but it's actually Phaeton that's a lot more similar to Hiei. Anyway, Hiei and Phaeton both have pretty similar designs, similar personalities, they're both really quick and nimble, they both fight with swords, and they both have a flame-related ability. Hiei's Dragon of the Darkness Flame also resembles Zeno's Dragon Lance. The idea of having the main cast drift off to pursue their own goals is something that Togashi experimented on with Kuwabara in Yu Yu Hakusho. I did like what Togashi was trying to do, but I feel like in Hunter x Hunter he tackles this concept with far more style and grace. Now it's time to talk about the actual purpose of this video, the main similarities and differences between the Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter villains. This was what I promised I would talk about in my previous video. We're going to be talking about how Hunter x Hunter took what was set in Yu Yu Hakusho, remixed, and evolved it to become something different and unique. Something more meticulously designed and construed. I stated in my video that I preferred the main characters of Yu Yu Hakusho more, but when it comes to villains, I prefer Hunter x Hunter. To simplify things, I'm going to go over the 3 main villains of Hunter x Hunter, or I guess antagonists of Hunter x Hunter, and compare them to the 2 main antagonists from Yu Yu Hakusho. As a side note, I'm probably just going to end up calling them villains instead of antagonists, it just rolls better. So I'll be comparing Hisoka to Toguro and Sensui, then Chrollo and the troop members to Toguro and Sensui, then Meruem and the royal guards to Toguro and Sensui. So let's get started. Hisoka is like Toguro in the sense that he sets up events for the main character to get as strong as possible so he can fight them at their best, all because they enjoy the thrill of battle. Hisoka spares Gon's life in the Hunter exams in order to fight him when he's stronger, in a similar way that Toguro enticed Yusuke to get stronger by sparing his life to fight him when he gets stronger. The difference lies in the rematch. Gon vs Hisoka was in a more controlled environment, where the only rules were to get more points than your opponent. Yusuke vs Toguro was a true battle to the death. However, it's likely the next time Gon and Hisoka encounter is going to be a battle to the death, similar to Yusuke vs Toguro. Similar to Netero, Toguro strived to be the strongest. They both had little remorse for people below them that they deemed inferior. They both selfishly pursued their goals of fighting someone strong enough to challenge them out of dissatisfaction and to end their feeling of emptiness. They both also had a huge part of their backstory taking place in a dojo. Chrollo and Sensui are both expressionless observers of humanity. Sensui has a form of multi-personality disorder. Sensui has multiple personalities woven into one body, which is a stark contrast from Chrollo, who most notably has no personality. However, it can be inferred that Chrollo does have personalities that are loosely expressed through the troupe. It can be argued that Chrollo doesn't solely think of the troupe as his comrades, but also part of his identity. If we adhere to this, we can loosely relate Uvogin to Kazuya, which is one of Sensui's multiple personalities. Both are wild, bombastic, and bloodthirsty. Kortopi could also be considered similar to George in that they both have abilities in which they can create virtually anything. Which leads us to a general discussion about the Sensui 7 and the Phantom Troupe. The Sensui 7 bear many similarities to the Phantom Troupe. Both groups consist of outcasts who either don't fit or don't believe in the way society operates. They choose to live on their own, following their own rules. However, when it comes to the Sensui 7, the individual members seem to all have more personal reasons for joining. Some are complex, like Sensui, a former spirit detective who was disgusted with the way we treated demons along with each other, to superficial motives like the Game Master who just wanted to play more video games. Similarly, a lot of Phantom Troupe members are from Meteor City, a place for outcasts who are said to not belong in normal society. The founding members joined because they shared a strong desire of camaraderie. I would consider that a more complex reason for joining. And then on the other hand, we have Hisoka, who merely joined because he wanted a one-on-one fight with the boss, Chrollo, a more superficial reason to join. Hisoka and the Seaman both end up being traitors. Oh yeah, and the Game Master Kid can turn video games real, which is an obvious precursor to Greed Island. Where the troupe and Sensui 7 differ is how they treat each other. Like I said before, the Sensui 7 have very personal reasons for coming together, but the troupe on the other hand come together because they want to be together. Very similar to how I actually described the Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter main characters. Yu Yu Hakusho characters only joined when they had a common goal, and Hunter x Hunter characters joined because they wanted to. The Sensui 7 have individualistic motivations, whereas the Phantom Troupe have collective motivations. The troupe treat each other like family, mourning after each other's loss. The Sensui 7 don't feel this way. This is because the Sensui 7 are far more goal-oriented. They don't feel a strong attachment to each other because that would ultimately detract them from their goal. The Phantom Troupe enjoy each other's company and they do whatever they want, so it's a lot more personal when one of them leaves. The Sensui 7 are the type of group that would somberly lament the existence of the main characters, constantly foiling their plans. On the other hand, Nobunaga invites Gon and Killua to join the Phantom Troupe, the antagonists inviting the protagonists to join their group. Meruem was a seemingly huge threat until later on it was revealed that he was a B-class threat, similar to the downfall of Toguro. Both villains slowly develop and come to the realization that power isn't everything, thanks to the people they love. Meruem and Sensui share a mutual disgust for humanity, at least on the outset. Meruem was a chimera tasked with ruling over humanity, whereas Sensui was a human tasked with obliterating demons. Meruem was an outside species set out to destroy humanity, whereas Sensui was a human tasked to destroy an outside species. Meruem and Sensui's end goals were inversely related. Sensui's true goal was to die at the hands of a demon, and Meruem's was to die in the hands of a human. Now that's all the comparisons I can think of between the villains of the series. A little bit less than I thought there would be. There's definitely more with the main characters, I feel. But there are still some similarities between the two series that I feel are worth talking about. One of them is pretty political. Togashi has directly expressed some of his opinions on politics in the form of the 13th chairman election arc, but this one required a little bit of reading between the lines. There's a pretty stark difference in how both series treat LGBT representation. Yu Yu Hakusho has sometimes blatant trans/homophobic subtext sprinkled throughout the series.
What, you're afraid I'll rub off on you? Why can't you treat me as an equal?
Shut up! If you're gonna be a man, do it all the way, not halfway!
But Hunter x Hunter has almost the opposite approach. They have far more respectable depictions of LGBT characters. Just look at nearly the entire Zoldyck family, for example. Seeing as both series were obviously written by Togashi, something probably happened to him that made him change his perspective when writing Hunter x Hunter compared to when he was writing Yu Yu Hakusho. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm sorry for the lack of anime videos and videos in general. I don't think I've uploaded an anime video since like September, but hopefully that will change. I was taking a break from YouTube in general for a bit, to be fair. But yeah, hopefully I can get back in the swing of things. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, and consider supporting me on Patreon. Alright, thanks for watching.